Hello. This podcast is going to be all about the Porsche 911 RSR car and how it started and why it was probably the best car of revolutionary in the racing world once it was fully created and manufactured. This car originally started out as the Porsche 911 RS, no R at the end of RS, and it was built with all the latest technological advancements, and it had probably the best of everything you could put in it. But they didn't have quite the best aero, and they also slightly tweaked some things, and those actually made it worse, and they did not know that until they created the Porsche RSR in the later versions. This car was originally had a hardtop, and it was made to be one of the best Porsches ever, but they actually figured out once they raced it on the track, it wasn't that great. It was better than all the other before Porsches, but it was not better than every single track car out there at the current moment, and it lost several races. They did not know what to do, and then they figured they might try something new. They didn't try to design it by themselves. They tried to take just all the latest stuff from other cars. They tried to take the new best aerodynamics. They tried to make everything into the car, and they slapped on better transmission, engine, power, and they just tried to understand the car and make it better than it already was, obviously. And then the original Porsche RS had an engine with a flat 6 pistons, which is just, it's flat instead of a V. V is now what it is normally now. And they added a turbocharger, which is, it just adds horsepower and shoves more air into the engine, making more power through the wheels. It made about 330 horsepower into the rear wheels and engine, because it is a rear wheel car. And it was rear revvy, and it actually slowed. It was, since the engine was in the rear and all the power was going to the rear, it was rear heavy, and that would cause it to actually lose time on the track and have less maneuverability when it was trying to take turns on the car track. They normally lost time on its laps because of this rear engine and how they, like, the specific place they designed it on the rear. When they inspected the car, they noticed that they needed to make it faster. They needed something to be different, and they had to do something about it. Then they changed the chassis, because later, this was a lot later after this lost a ton of races. They took even more new stuff and put it into the Porsche 911 RS hardtop to make it the RSR. It had a new chassis, had a new just upgrades, advancements. They tested it, and on the track and on dyno, which basically tracks how powerful your wheels are and how much horsepower you're making, it made about 510 horsepower. This is a giant gap from the Porsche 911 RS to the Porsche 911 RSR. It's around like 200 extra horsepower, and that is a lot. This had an insane lap time, about 6 minutes and 27 seconds on the lap called the Nürburgring track. And the old Porsche RS had a track time of about 8 minutes and 28 seconds. That is a 2-minute difference, just because of they added new stuff into it and made the aerodynamics better. This car was the successor of the RS, which looked like a nobody. The RS was terrible on the tracks, and now they made a car that was insane on the tracks. Nobody knew how to do it until they actually started selling the car other than putting it on the track. They created exactly what they wanted at the end of the project, and they just did slight tweaks after all the engineering, and they changed the displacement / how much oil and compression is inside of the car they just kept on trying to add onto the car to make it even better. And this car had a massive wing on the back, which creates a lot of downforce. So without downforce, your car will probably lift up in the front end to make it have less grip on the track. Less grip will have longer lap times. This Porsche had 113 first place wins on the track. So 113 out of the total 133 times it raced. That is only 20 races that it lost. And out of the 20 races it lost, it had second place podiums for 17 of them. So third place and below, it was only 3 times they raced. This car had 17 different total titles in the races, which is a very high amount compared to basically every other car on the track. And a Le Mans race is this car did a Le Mans race, which is a 24-hour race, and they have nearly no stops. They have like a 30-minute break for lunch, and the driver has to be driving 24/7, like not 7, but 24 hours. It's a very long race, and it won 3 times first place in this race, 24-hour race. That is an insane time. And basically, all in summary, this car was an absolute demon on the track, and it broke several previous records from the Porsche RS. And it was actually way ahead of its time. It would probably be still pretty up there at this moment, but they have created better cars now. It would probably still place around 5th in this time, and that means it was way ahead of its time. It should not have been already built, but they did it. And the Porsche, after this car, they had actually figured out how to make everything on their next cars better, which is how this car is also what they took into consideration for their new car called the GT3 RS, but that is not what I'm talking about. And yeah, that's the podcast. I forgot to show the actual car. So the actual car right here is the Lego building. It is, I think, probably a 1 to 10 ratio, 1 to 8 ratio of the actual car, and it's actually very detailed for how Lego has created their cars. Antenna, and it has a working engine in the back too. Probably one of the best Legos I've ever seen or built. Thank you.